Hello and thank you for tuning in to the AAU TV Mid-Week news, coming to you from the headquarters of the Association of African Universities in Accra, Ghana. My name is Maame Ekua Otuakoa Nyame. With me in the studio are
Ms. Deladem Dotsey.
And I am Agyemang Darko.
And now the headlines on higher education. Preparing fifth industrial revolution ready university graduates for the future economy. And also scientists urge leaders to up spendings on health education.
And in our health news, healthy diet in early pregnancy reduces risk of gestational diabetes. And again, how exercise interventions could help people with asthma.
In our science and technology news, we bring you special insights on Economa, Kenya's assistive technology for hearing impaired. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us for more news.
Welcome back from the break. And African universities have been urged to equip students with the necessary skills and knowledge to deal with the implications of the Fifth Industrial Revolution, 5IR. This was said at a global forum for higher education and scientific research.
Higher education stakeholders highlighted the Fifth Industrial Revolution and its implication on the future of work, along with providing a roadmap to prepare students for the future economy at the second edition of the forum with the theme, The Future in Action, at the new administrative capital in Cairo from 8th to 10th December. Scott Sherman, Skills Transformation Director at Coursera in the United States, told University World News. The Fifth Industrial Revolution, like all before it, has two components: the introduction of new technology and a reorganization of industry brought about by that technology. I think it's always difficult in the midst of a revolution to predict exactly how industry and work will be reorganized. But we do know that it will create new kinds of jobs that don't exist today and which will require new skills and learning to be successful, Sherman said. Expanding on this theme, Egyptian professor Hanan Mustafa, the director of Innovation 4.0 Network, told University World News. The Fifth Industrial Revolution is a natural evolution of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, placing more emphasis on the human aspect, sustainability, resilience, and agility. Bradley Tipp, business strategy leader for higher education research at Microsoft Education, told University World News, the Fifth Industrial Revolution comes down to sustainability. I believe that this is as important to African universities as any other issue, and that many are already looking at sustainability in its many dimensions. If you equip your students to think about any subject through the lens of sustainability, then you will be doing all the right things for future access, Tripp said. Sherman stressed that African higher education systems and programs will need to adapt and change to best serve learners. I think the best way to do this is through collaboration between universities, industries, and government to ensure that they are meeting the needs of industry and society at large. Higher education stakeholders.
Well, there we have it, preparing Fifth Industrial Revolution ready university graduates for the future economy. Now, we'll talk more about Fifth Industrial Revolution, but before I do that, I would also want to quickly present what the various industrial revolution offered. Now, the first revolution mechanized the textile industry. The second revolution gave high volume industrial production and high mass consumption. The third allowed information to be captured in a digital form and also to be cost effective. And now the fourth revolution provided robotics, artificial intelligence, and augmented reality. I'll quickly move to Agyemang and then Ms. Deladem. Can we briefly discuss the Fifth Industrial Revolution? What is it about?
First of all, I'll say, the Fifth Industrial Revolution has been described as a system that will bring up innovations, purpose, and inclusivity. And then the main idea behind the Fifth Industrial Revolution is to generate an overly advanced link between human and technology. Now we have the technology which was in the fourth revolution, which is the digitalization, but now we want to include human, on how to make it effective using the fifth industrial revolution. And I know the implication of this on higher education is that some programs like STEM, which is the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, those programs will have to reconsider, or let me say, consider being merged, or let me say, adapt concepts within the art programs. In a sense that STEM are more inclined to the fourth industrial revolution, as I said earlier. But I know a sense of humanity skills in STEM will make, I feel a STEM of humanity skills in STEM will make the students think outside the box. That is the little I have to say.
Yeah, that's
it really gets better with what your mama said, because life changes and people get more innovative, things get more easier, technology grows. And I mean, so in the beginning, the first industrial revolution where we saw mechanization, now we've seen so much of digitalization. And the issue, the worry is that during the fourth industrial revolution, the worry for people, employees, that we're going redundant, or we're going to be laid off because machines, robotics, artificial intelligence will be taking over the whole industry. But now we want to find a way where we can link human efficiency, human agility, and sustainability with these machines. So in this case, you can man the machines, so you wouldn't be redundant, or you wouldn't be laid off. So that is really the implication here. Jobs will change, but we need to be able to control these technologies in the fifth IR.
Okay, thank you for that. Now I have a statement here made by Scott Schumann, and he's a skills transformation director at Coursera in the United States. He made a statement and it says, he stressed that African higher education systems and programs will need to adapt and change the best service learners. Now, what do we make of this statement?
First of all, I would say African higher education are even lacking behind when it comes to our fourth industrial revolution, which is digitalization. And our system is glued to the traditional way of doing things. For instance, when you go to some advanced countries, their higher education institutions have developed holograms that is used to complement learning in the classrooms. But when you come to our part of the world, we are still glued with the whiteboard, the marker. So I think, I couldn't agree more with his statement. Yes, I think Agyemang will add more to it.
I think it gets to a time, I believe it gets to a time where Scott Sherman, with his experience, believes that education should not go the rigid way, but flexible education. Flexible in the sense whereby learners are the center of the education, who are not subjected to any fixed system or curricula for them to follow. You need to understand that people came from their various homes or where they came from with their special abilities, interests, preferences, strength. And you need to understand these values or these indicators and find a way to give them a room to learn what they can learn very well best. So you put me in a lecture hall with some students, and I'm more inclined to technology. Others are more inclined to social science, others to agriculture. What do you do? After assessing these indications or these strengths or potential, you need to now provide us the level ground so we can grow ourselves in these strengths that we have, and not wallow unless they put us in a bottle or fixed in a square cave where we have to adapt. Rather, we need to we need to suit ourselves with what we can do better and grow in it. I believe that's the most important thing right now.
The story mentioned the concept of smart universities. Now, I would want to find out how effective will these smart university concepts be in terms of preparing students for the fifth industrial revolution?
First of all, I would say, speaking to the smart university, as cited by Professor Hani Mustafa, I believe this will be very effective in preparing students of the fifth industrial revolution, such that the link which will exist between industries and academic institutions creates the platform for students to know exactly what the real world will give to them. So with that, we won't just have students graduating with a certificate, just for graduating sake, but we will have students who will be driven with innovation and with purpose. I think that will help.
Agyemang, anything to add?
I mean, excellently provided by John right here with the fact that smart universities, according to what we have in Egypt, are just providing that unique masterclass exposure to these students, where industry is brought closer to students to tap in experience, where we have joint research, joint technological projects run by universities. So students who are the center of this get the best of it. Basically, we leveraging on the strength of universities and growing our skills. And I think it's splendid right there.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And now moving on, a group of 9 African academics from South Africa, Kenya, Senegal, Nigeria and Mali have called on government and other funders for increased local investment in health research and development systems to enable Africa to meet COVID-19 health challenges and prepare for future pandemics.
These demands were outlined in an open letter to African leaders by members of the African Voices of Science initiative that aims to reinforce the importance of increased investment in Africa's research and development sector while building trust in health innovation. African Voices of Science forms part of Speak Up Africa, which is a network of communication and advocacy network focused on awareness campaign and advocacy for public health and sanitation. The open letter was presented at the 4th Galleon Forum Africa held in Dakar, Senegal from 7th to 11th December. The forum is a high-profile gathering linked to the prestigious Prix Galleon that has been awarded for 50 years for pharmaceutical innovation. Since 2018, an African forum has been taking place in Dakar. The letter comes in a context in which an estimated 615 million Africans do not have adequate access to quality healthcare, and Africa accounts for almost half of global death from communicable diseases. We call on government, agencies, and multilateral companies to urgently increase investment in health research and development in order to improve the quality and accessibility of our health systems, the open letter said. On average, Africa spends 0.45% on GDP on research and development, which is significantly less than the global average of 1.7% and the African Union target of 1%. Expanding access to essential medicines and COVID-19 vaccines has demonstrated the importance of increasing access to quality medicines and highlighted the underinvestment in research and development of medical diagnostics and the ability to develop and manufacture tests that are unevenly distributed around the world, the open letter pointed.
Well, there we have it. Scientists urging leaders to increase spending on on health education. Now, I have a statement here, or I have something from the letter. Now, the letter comes in context in which an estimated 615 million Africans do not have adequate access to quality health care, and Africa accounts for almost half of global death and communicable diseases. What I want to find out is, what are the conditions that has led Africa to account for such death regarding communicable diseases?
First of all, I'll say Africa is a continent that is still developing, with majority of its countries within the poverty line. So it's not surprising to hear that Africa actually accounts for most, or let me say half of the global death from communicable diseases. HIV, tuberculosis, amongst others, are some prevalent communicable diseases. So the conditions, I'll talk about perception and then education.
Okay.
You know, some individuals are of the view that because they are spiritually fortified, they can't contract some diseases. For instance, you are someone that you have encounter with, let me say, a sex worker, and you don't protect yourself, and you know you have multiple of them. So you doing that, you would surely, let me say, and since it's not protected, you will surely get infected in one way or the other.
Okay.
And I'll come to our education. You know, it's quite common to note that while government and health personnel have put in several efforts in educating the public on these diseases, is mostly for a short time.
Okay.
For instance, we release we realize that education is done when tuberculosis becomes the headline. And I also take an instance from our breast cancer awareness. We only, push that agenda when it's October, even though some people may be doing it in their own small way. But I think we shouldn't wait for a particular time or a particular period to start educating people on their health challenges. I think it should be done day in, day out.
That's true.
Yes.
Agyemang?
Yeah, I will take a cue what Joma said, that we are experiencing very poor investment in health infrastructure in Africa. Visit some communities, some don't even have health centers, and you have to transport someone from a very rural area to the city, kilometers away, miles, just for healthcare. Before the person gets there, they are dead. So you can see that we'll keep dying. People in Africa will keep dying because of this, because we don't have accessible healthcare. And also health education. Look at how deplorable the state is when it comes to health education centers. Poor laboratories. We even have all the gadgets and all the instruments needed to perform research and test. And with this, you can't grow a continent full of healthy people if you have this. Finally, is the inadequate production of health professionals. How many doctors do we have in the continent? And even when they are produced, do they even stay? They want to travel abroad.
Exactly.
I was just telling Mr. Deladem that there's one controversial point with regards to if a public official or let's say a minister is ill, they travel. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because we know that for good healthcare, you have to travel overseas. So if public officials know where to get better healthcare, then the people who vote for these officials, where do they do? So I think we should start advising ourselves that in the country, if you want good healthcare, travel abroad.
Exactly.
So take your vote and travel abroad. But I mean, the sarcasm in this whole thing is that leaders have prioritized good healthcare overseas. It means that if that's the case, then better investment into building a robust healthcare system in Africa isn't the priority, because they know where to go. What happens to you and I as citizens in Africa? Where do we get healthcare? So it's important that these leaders heed to the call of these academics to really intensify investment in healthcare in Africa, build good professionals, and also help build a strong quality health education system in the continent. And we're better to go with that one.
Thank you. Now, the open letter appealed that African leaders must be called upon to invest in making the most critical health data accessible to 1.2 billion Africans in order to tackle the misinformation crisis that is an obstacle to good health on the continent. Now, let's discuss some of these misinformation crises we have experienced in Africa, especially in the case of COVID-19.
Let me say the misinformation surrounding COVID-19, especially in Africa, is quite a lot. And it shows how weak our health educational system is. Some of these misinformations are, I'll touch on a few. I know Agyemang has a lot. There was a claim that, the vaccine were injected with microchips and magnets, which speaks of the mark of the beast, 666 in the Bible, that analogy that comes with 666 from the Bible. And also the virus is designed to reduce the population of Africa and promote white supremacy. And I know that we heard that a lot. And there was one that says that a cocktail of ginger, garlic, lemon, and paracetamol could flash the could flash COVID-19, and also drinking hot water could also flash the virus. And also there was one that says that it taught that the ability to hold your breath for 10 seconds meant that you could not have COVID-19. I think that one I was even trying it personally at a point. And also the last one thought that COVID-19 had little effect on blacks compared with whites. And these were the little ones I could put together.
Before I move to Agyemang, I'm actually guilty of a lot of,
and
especially the hot water.
And then
during COVID, I woke up one morning and I felt this dryness in my throat and my heart was beating. I looked around and the only available thing was the ginger and then the hot water and honey. Jesus, like I missed everything. I was just killing myself. What other information do you have on COVID?
It gets interesting because in a land where you don't want to invest in healthcare and health professionals, this is what you get. Every African is a doctor and a health professional. So we advise ourselves on what to do, which is not appropriate.
Yeah.
Normally, we should be looking forward to more research institutions which have been strengthened to bring out findings about pandemics and also other ones that are yet to come. Like COVID-19, really been through a hard time with COVID-19 some years past, 2 years ago, because we had COVID-19 is demonic, COVID-19 can be prevented with sex.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of,
those ones are
strange.
Those ones were jokes. Nobody actually took that seriously.
Strange.
Unless, of course, you did. Did you?
I'm just saying what the people are saying, These are public knowledge.
I don't think so.
But, these are the strange solutions that people are bringing out there because we didn't have the professionals coming out themselves, confidently giving us facts for perception.
Yeah.
So we ourselves were just giving ourselves reasons to believe A, B, or C, D.
Yes.
And that is the irony of it when governments or leaders do not prioritize health and education, also building human capital in this sector as their number one priority. We then lose focus and we end up losing our lives. So the cost of no action is the cost of losing so many people in Africa.
Okay. Well, the cost of no action is the cost of losing so many people in Africa. Health news is up next.
A healthy, comprehensive diet that lowers the body's inflammation reduces the risk of gestational diabetes, reveals a new study.
Obesity is a significant risk factor for developing gestational diabetes mellitus, and an increasing number of pregnant women are overweight or obese. Dietary habits have an impact on both obesity and an onset of gestational diabetes mellitus. The mother-child study conducted at the University of Turku and Turku University Hospital in Finland examined the connection between dietary intake and onset of gestational diabetes in 351 overweight or obese women. The women's nutrient intake was calculated from food diaries, on the basis of which two dietary patterns, a healthier and an unhealthier dietary pattern, were recognized. In addition, the overall quality of the diet in reference to that recommended was described with the Diet Quality Index and the inflammatory potential with the Dietary Inflammatory Index. Our research results shows that following a healthy diet in early pregnancy reduces the risk of gestational diabetes, says first author, doctoral candidate Lotta Pajinen from the Institute of Biomedicine at the University of Turku. Our research results show that following a healthy diet in early pregnancy reduces the risk of gestational diabetes, says first author, doctoral candidate Lotta Pajinen from Institute of Biomedicine at the University of Turku. The study also found that a higher dietary inflammatory index, meaning a diet that increases the low-grade inflammatory markers in the human body, was connected to an increased risk of developing gestational diabetes mellitus. Furthermore, a higher consumption of fat, and especially saturated fat, was connected to gestational diabetes. This is of interest as the intake of saturated fat is known to increase the body's inflammation.
So that is it about healthy diet in early pregnancy reducing the risk of gestational diabetes. But first of all, I would like us to discuss gestational diabetes and its implications. Agyemang, I'll start from you.
Sadly, gestational diabetes is a kind of diabetes which I would want to classify it as the third way one can be infected with diabetes after the diabetes 1 and diabetes 2.
Okay.
Basically diabetes is all about having a lot of sugar in your bloodstream.
That's true.
And which is, after taking carbohydrates, a lot of carbohydrate energy-giving foods, the body breaks it down after digestion into glucose.
Yeah.
So you have multiple glucose in your bloodstream, and by the help of beta cells, pancreas, insulin is made to help absorb this glucose into the various cells that will be needing the glucose. However, with diabetes, basically, when you have so much glucose in the system, the body only takes little of it for energy, and the rest in the body is what causes the diabetes. Strangely, with the gestational diabetes, as a pregnant woman, you crave for more food. So you're really not guided or restricted on what to take. If you don't get the proper guidance from a dietitian or some people like family to tell you, okay, eat more vegetables, eat more fruits, you may be led to taking more sweets, more fats, more carbohydrates, which in turn creates a lot of glucose in your bloodstream. And after pregnancy, you may be a victim of gestational diabetes, because right after the baby is out, you may be obese, and at that obese level, there is so much blood sugar and fat in your bloodstream, and that is where gestational diabetes leaves you after giving birth.
Okay. So Maame Ekua will continue for us.
Okay, so I highlighted a few things that study mentioned. So the study basically says a higher consumption of fat, especially saturated fat, fat was connected to gestational diabetes. Now, basically, let me just run you through a few examples of saturated fat. Examples are butter, there's cake, which I think I take a lot of it, so I should stop. Fatty meat, sausages, cheese. So basically, the more you take in these stuff, you end up increasing your risk of getting gestational diabetes.
You know, more importantly, it's not really about not taking these kind of fats, but I think it's all about the moderate and guided, guided diet. It makes it better. Sure.
That's true. So now I want us to discuss how pregnant women in their early stage of pregnancy could reduce gestational diabetes. Maame Ekua, would you start with us?
Sure. You know, just like I mentioned, examples of saturated fats, the butter, cake, cheese, sausages, and stuff. Basically, instead of eating so much of that, maybe that energy should be channeled into eating more vegetables, more fruits, more berries, whole grains, as well as unsaturated fats.
Okay.
Exactly. Because these nutrients and food reduce inflammation in the body, and therefore it also reduces the risk of gestational diabetes.
Okay. Agyemang, would you want to add something?
Yeah, I mean, it makes the point very clear, because whenever you conceive, baby, you are really you are susceptible to obesity, and that is a point where you have to be very cautious of what you consume. So more berries, more fruit, more vegetables. These diets reduces the sugar. I mean, they don't have so much sugar in them. They are filled with more nutrients. So therefore, you reduce the amount of sugar in your system, preventing yourself from infection with gestational diabetes.
You know, there's just some clarity that I want here. Is this just for pregnant women, or just it's a general thing for everyone?
You know, I mean, obesity is something that we are all susceptible to. We all can get obese.
No, I asked because the study specified or focused on pregnant women.
Yeah, because I mean, after gestation, you can get diabetes. It is something that can happen. So reducing the risk of getting diabetes with gestation, you have to make sure you check your diet.
That's true.
That's true. Okay, so we'll take our second health story. Interventions aimed at promoting physical activity in people with asthma could improve their symptoms and quality of life, according to a new research.
Interventions aimed at promoting physical activity in people with asthma could improve their symptoms and quality of life, according to new research from the University of East Anglia. Researchers looked at whether interventions such as aerobic and strength or resistance training had helped participants with asthma. Although they found that these interventions worked, patients with asthma may have had difficulty undertaking them because of their difficulty traveling to fitness groups, or because the interventions were not suitable for people with additional health conditions. But the team said that digital interventions such as video appointments, smartwatches and mobile apps could remove some of the barriers and enable patients to carry out home-based programs in future. Professor Andrew Wilson from UEA's Norwich Medical School said being physically active is widely recommended for people with asthma. Doing more than 150 minutes a week of moderate to vigorous physical activity has extensive benefits, including improved lung function and asthma control. But research has shown that people living with asthma engage in less physical activity and are more sedentary than people without asthma. We wanted to find out whether interventions such as being asked to perform aerobic exercise a few times a week in group sessions, together with goal setting, are effective in helping people with asthma to be more active. The team studied interventions that were designed to promote physical activity in adults with asthma. They looked at 25 separate studies from around the world involving 1,849 participants with asthma to see whether their symptoms and quality of life were changed thanks to the interventions. Postgraduate researcher Leanne Tyson, also from UEA's Norwich Medical School, said, "We found that interventions that promote physical activity has significant benefits in terms of increasing physical activity, decreasing time spent sedentary, improving quality of life, and decreasing asthma symptoms. This is really important because helping patients make significant behavior changes could really improve their outcomes in the long term."
Okay, so this is a very interesting story which tells us how exercise could intervene for people with asthma. Right now, I want us to, talk about asthma. What is asthma?
No, basically, asthma is a respiratory disorder preventing people from breathing in comfortably as you can breathe in today. But
Yes.
with asthmatic patients, at a point in time, they find it very difficult to take in air through their airwaves, because these airwaves have been inflamed.
Yes.
So unlike the various symptoms people experience when they have COVID-19, you realize that your lungs are inflamed and mucus has filled these air tubes, and therefore when you breathe in, you struggle. So the same way, it gets to a point where when these asthmatic patients are let's say, are experiencing the pain of it, when you breathe in air, you are not able to breathe back, or let's say breathe in to fill these air sacs because they are inflamed, they are sore, and they are full of mucus.
Okay.
Basically.
Okay, so now let's continue with our discussion. I want to know what happens to our body when we exercise, and then how can exercising intervene in helping individuals with asthma, Agyemang?
I actually did a study with my eyebrows risen, like seriously? you are putting people through resistance training, aerobic strength, and then you are asking them. I mean, for everyone it's fine. I mean, I'm healthy, I'm fine, I can do this. But asthmatic patients who are struggling with respiration, and this disorder, when there's a little bit of convulsion, they react very bad to the situation, are now subjected to this aerobic training and resistance training. What exactly is the point? But I wouldn't want to doubt the study from the University of East Anglia. The point is they believe, or they had some patients who had asthma who were involved in the study, and they realized that it worked for them. But there's a difficulty. The difficulty is that, we have some patients who have asthma who won't even be able to move to their grounds. Living home, like we saw in the video, this young man who's jogging to the site for aerobics. Before you even get there, you may be under attack. And when you're under attack, you can't even breathe. So how then are you going to benefit from this solution, or let's say aerobic exercise? So I believe that some people or some patients will not be able to take part in this form of relief exercise or relief solution.
Okay, that's true.
Anyone who has had an encounter with an asthmatic patient will tell you that they do not exercise.
Yes.
One, because of their strength. They try to exercise just for a few minutes and they are so exhausted they can't go any further. So I don't know, I'm just sort of wondering what exactly this study is trying to prove, because we are talking about these same people who can barely exercise, and now the study is saying that within the week they should be able to exercise between moderately and doing higher exercises, which I don't know how that would work. Perhaps we would all wait until the study is proven to be true.
Okay, so we will all wait until the study is proven to be true. Don't go anywhere as we bring you science and technology news after the short break. Boy.
Welcome to the Science and Technology segment. And communication is very important in expressing one's thoughts, feelings, and desires to other parties. And in this case, when you have someone who is hearing impaired, or let's say has a hearing impairment, how then possibly would you be able to express yourself to such a person? There's a solution with Economa, which is manufactured or created by some Kenyan scientists to help bridge the gap between communication with the hearing impaired and the hearing community in Kenya. Very few people in the public sphere in Kenya have the ability to communicate and interpret sign language, and this has further alienated those with hearing impairment. To open up to the communication world to the deaf, Elisa Vatia and Lumona Mulengwa, together with their team at Vis-a-Vis, have developed an assistive technology known as Economa to facilitate communication between the hearing community and those with hearing impairment. Chief Executive Officer of Vis-a-Vis, Elisa Vatia, explained that the innovation is mainly to break the communication barrier between these two groups, and our technology is ensuring that they are able to access and communicate in their immediate environment. The innovation aims to promote confidentiality in communication between the deaf and hearing community, especially where sensitive information is involved. And also, it can be used in areas like hospitals, banks, where sensitive information are shared, where you can't have a third party there because you can't share your bank PIN or something like that if you are a deaf person. Lumona Mulongwa, Chief Technical Officer of Vis-a-Vis, added, Economa has a translation in English and decodes Kenyan sign languages to either audio or text. The application has two major options. So there is that one translating from sign language, and there is the next option, which is translating to sign language. So the one with a hearing impairment can use the one for translation to sign language. Like any other innovation, the duo also experienced some challenges during data collection and training the software to encode signs from different people.
No, Shay.
So that's a very, very innovative one done by Vis-a-Vis, the likes of Mungwela and co, with such a very wonderful, creative tool to assist the hearing impaired and also the hearing community on how to communicate. And the unique thing is that it translates the sign languages to oral language and then vice versa. What's your view towards this great innovation right there?
First of all, when it comes to people who cannot hear in our communities or in our society, they sometimes feel left out because whatever we are saying we can't hear. So if there is an app or there is a developed app that is going to bridge the gap between those who cannot hear and those who can hear, I think is going to go a long way to bridge that gap of not belonging to the society. So I think it will help them. Yes.
So let's hear from Maame Ekua about the issue with the creativity that has been done over there.
I think it's a great one. It's a great one. I don't know if you have anything like this out there, but here's an app that has integrated all the sign languages and then spoken languages to benefit those who need it. I think it's good because most often than not, people with such disability in society are looked down on. They don't get access to go places that we can go. But I think with this, gradually we are getting there. Because even in the classroom, imagine having someone with such disability in the classroom with you. With the help of the app, they will be able to follow lectures, they will be able to join discussions because they would understand what is going on. So I think this is really a right step.
But have you had any encounter with someone who is who has an hearing impairment issue?
Okay, well, yes, that was some years ago. I think I went for a program, and during the discussion, I actually didn't know the person couldn't hear me. So it was like a group, we're having a discussion, and then we're all talking. So I was expecting the lady to also talk, only for someone to whisper in my ear that, oh, okay, she can't actually hear us, but she's just here because she's just in us, just to enjoy that social thing. So, it was a little awkward. I felt bad because I felt like, why can't she talk, or why is she not talking? And I think, yeah.
I've
actually encountered one person, and for me, it wasn't a nice experience because, like she said, I equally did not know. We had met at a place for the first time. Everyone was talking, and he wasn't, but he kept smiling. Those people are so sweet. They smile all the time.
True.
So he kept smiling. I was wondering why. And then the one leading the conversation mentioned that he would have asked him, but we all know he can't. And I was so sad. It's sad. So I think, imagine a person like this getting access to this app.
Yes.
At least they'll be able to join conversations and laugh and smile because they understand what is going on.
We are talking about.
You and I are able to hear, we hear stuff, and sometimes it relieves us of our stress. So I think if they are able to hear what is being said, if they are able to, I think it's a good thing.
You know, I want to say, even though it's not pleasant, but I want to say kudos to Elisa Vatia and Lumona Mulengwa and the Vis-a-Vis team in Kenya for doing such a very wonderful work to help people with hearing impairment. And also, I believe that other developers in the African continent will do same and pick up with this and also solve basic issues like these in the African continent.
Yeah, and we must say we are proud this invention is coming from Africa. It's a great one. Yes. And now that is all for the news. And in wrapping up, let's take a quick recap of our headlines. Preparing fifth industrial revolution, university graduates for the future economy. And also, scientists urge leaders to up spendings on health education.
And in our health news, healthy diet in early pregnancy reduces risk of gestational diabetes. And again, how exercise interventions could help people with asthma.
Science and technology, Economa, Kenya's assistive technology for the hearing impaired in Kenya.
And now, thank you very much for watching the AAU TV News. My name is Maame Ekua Otuakoa Nyame.
And I am Ms. Deladem Dotsey.
I am Agyemang, Darko, and thank you for your time on AAU TV News. Keep watching our programs. Have a nice day and bye.
Oh, no.